Yeah, and see, my thing with 2K is so addicting. Like 2K is such a time investment because you're working on your player and doing all this stuff. So like now I could do that at work. You know what I'm saying? Like now I can just get my, go to my park, work on my skills. Oh man, I'm having so much fun with it. Like it's real good.
Dope.
Yeah, man.
That's what's
So
up.
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about picking up Doom on the Switch, but part of it is I'm not sure how I feel about a first person shooter like that. I'm not sure how I feel about
Yeah,
that.
that's a big one. That's a big one because that we'll get into it because we're gonna talk about it a
And,
little
and
bit.
it's a multiplayer and everything's in there too. So I was like,
Yeah, and that was my main concern also with 2K with the online aspect, and I'm like, yo, it's 2K online, like running games. It's like this is crazy.
That's what's up.
Yeah, what's up?
That's what's
Ken?
up. What's up? What's up? So, I went ahead, started the show, got a little intro running with that 2K conversation, which is good. Yeah, man, I did a show yesterday. Talked about PewDiePie a little bit. Obviously, got some feedback from that. Somebody who doesn't like Xbox, and also had a very long response to my thoughts on the PewDiePie situation. Everybody has an opinion or a comment about something they may not understand, but that's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Tonight, man, we're going to talk about Shadowrun. We'll talk a little bit about Xbox One X bundle predictions, seeing what type of games they're going to put with this console. Cliffy be it sorry. Anchor's got a few topics. We'll try to do we'll try to do a few Q&As if we can knock it out in a good amount of time and things like that. But yeah, man, it's been a busy couple days gaming wise, enjoying Destiny, knocking that out, leveling up, about to hit that 280. So
Nice.
doing my thing and stuff like that. Had a nice little run earlier with Lord Addict.
Getting that carry, getting that night for carry.
I don't know about carry. I was holding my own. But
we need to talk about Addict for a moment.
Yeah.
Why?
Addict. This man is probably the taskmaster. This man it will tell you what to do, and he knows the game inside and out. Like the game's only been out for like a week. And he's like, all right, everybody wait here. I'll do this. We do this. We go in order. It's like, okay, everybody jump now. It's on
facts.
point.
Yeah, Addict was on point.
Yeah, he's very. What I like about running any type of hard content in Destiny, he's very efficient, and he can get new people who are not comfortable or don't know exactly what the strategies are all on the same page. He's really good with that.
Yeah. Like he was showing us portions of the raid. He's like, okay, you guys jump here, and when this happens, this is what's going to happen here later, and then you're all going to jump over here, and then do this. Like it's very complex. Like if we were anybody else, we would have been screwed.
Shout out to Lord Addict, man.
Definitely shout out to Lord. I definitely absorbed what I could absorb out of that. My crew is they've gotten to exactly where we were at, the bathhouse. I didn't get a chance to run with them because I was so much lower than them dealing with whatever I was dealing with at home. So I had to take my time. They already trying to do the raid and knock it out and stuff. So I can't mess with them. But I was available today to run with the crew. So I happened to hop in there, run with the guys for a little bit and stuff. So it was cool, man. I enjoyed myself, and I'm glad that I did because I got some new items that got me ranked up real nice. I got that legendary.
What you got?
The legendary. What is it called? What is the gun? The
primary
the scout rifle. No, scout. Okay. I got
you remember the name off the top?
It's oh my god, I can't remember the name of it. No,
nameless. Flavor text names.
Is it nameless something? A nameless something. Okay. I can't remember what it is.
There's a couple of good scouts, a couple of really good legendary scouts.
This gun is out of control, son. This gun is out of control, dude. I get in PvP. I literally wreck with this gun because I'm already like a precision type player. I'm leaving matches with 37 kills in a match. It's nasty. It's got like explosive detonation on the shot. It's got crazy range. Man, it's a nice kinetic weapon. I got to get props.
Shout out to Vala in the chat. He's right. Nameless Midnight. Yes.
There you go. Nameless Midnight. That gun is nasty.
Shout out. It's nasty.
That gun
It's a
is
beast.
nasty. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get the show started. Let's get talking about these topics. I want to thank everybody for stopping in. I thank Lord Cognito for stopping in, replacing B Money 101, who's actually at a fight party tonight. I think it's Canelo and Triple G.
Lord King is in the building. Lord Saab's in the building too. They doing the same thing right now.
So he's out there checking it out, and we're gonna hit these topics up and get talking about Xbox. So here we go. Welcome to the Inner Circle Podcast, the premier podcast for Xbox One. I'm your host, KLRSKLL, with Anchorman V.
Hey, everybody. How you guys doing tonight?
And the legendary, mighty Lord Cognito.
Lords of the Inner Circle. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. A shout out to, again, B Money 101, who was not able to make it tonight for other reasons. Well, we wish him the best of luck, and he has a lot of fun. Hopefully he didn't make any bets, because we don't want to see him take any L's in tonight's fight party. So listen, man, Microsoft has got a proposal from the Dragon Punk guys who are working on the new DLC for Ark. And they're kind of making this like cyberpunk game with a mix of mystical lore with dragons and things like that. Like Ark has really just gone above and beyond what it was when it first came out. You know, it went from just being a dinosaur game to just becoming something even bigger than just dinosaurs and just taking it to a whole nother level. But the Dragon Punk guys came up with a proposal. They've been working on RPGs. They've been coming up with these plans, and they want to recreate Shadowrun. And they made this proposal to Microsoft to try to allow them to create a new Shadowrun franchise for the Xbox One X. I think this is the big deal. I think a lot of people will hop on this. I think they're very excited about the opportunity to play Shadowrun again. I've never played it in any fashion, whether it was first-person shooter or whether it was RPG. All I know is it's an RPG coming to Xbox. And if it's something that somebody wants to do, Microsoft owns the intellectual property, I am all for that. What do you guys think of this? Do you think this is something that really is something that Microsoft could truly use, or the franchise isn't big enough to make people pay attention?
Now, with Shadowrun, I'm not entirely up to date on this kind of game. My understanding of it, at least so far, is kind of like this. It's like a sci-fi fantasy kind of game. It's like a mixture between both. Fill us in. What kind of game is Shadowrun again for us? For those the uninitiated, Cal?
It's kind of like a cyberpunk title. You deal with elves. There's like ogres. There's humans in it. And in the 360 days, it was a shooter. It was a shooter. You could run around. It was a good multiplayer game. You would run around with, some people had mystical powers. Some people had technological abilities and things like that. It was a really cool game, but it wasn't big. You're talking about the Halo era. You're talking about the Gears era. So Shadowrun really went under the radar. It was actually a really good game, but no one really noticed the game had actually came out on the Xbox, and the install for it wasn't very big. But it's a franchise that really could potentially be something if done right and if rebooted the right way. Now, I don't know the history of Dragon Punk. I only know based on what I've seen. I'm very intrigued with it. I don't know what the proposal is, what they put together for the proposal. Obviously, Microsoft's going to check it out. If they consider it, that would be great for them, because Dragon Punk could have an opportunity to be a new studio for Microsoft if they play their cards right. And I'm all for new studios because I feel like Microsoft sorely needs them.
Facts.
I just think that this would be good. But Shadowrun is basically your, futuristic sort of, cyberpunk mystical game. Think of a combination of, I don't want to say Lord of the Rings because it's not that extreme, but just think of cyberpunk elves, man. It's pretty crazy what they were trying to do with this franchise.
So kind of like a Witcher 3 kind of vibe to it, but more cyberpunky.
cyberpunky. No, not so much when it comes to like forest, open world, mountains. We're talking about cities, cars, futuristic technology, stuff like that. Yeah.
All right. That sounds pretty cool. I mean, this is an interesting position for Microsoft because they have all these franchises that they're sitting on. All these little IPs are just sitting in their back pocket, and they're not really using them. And it's one of those things where this is an advantage that I cannot see in their mind, them saying no to this. Somebody is literally saying, we will make the game for you. Just grant us the license. We want, just give us the license. You can get some sort of deal out of it. Like, it's just, give it to them. Let them, like, maybe not give them, don't give them the franchise, but give them the license in this particular game. And hey, write down an exclusive. People want to make your games, and people, and if somebody wants to make the game, there's somebody's going to buy it. So, I mean, hey, you're not putting any money on it. Let it fly.
Mm-hmm. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, I always like to hear things like this and Microsoft revisiting IPs that they own. And like I said, it was again similar to you guys, Lord Anchor. I mean, it's really one of those things that kind of slid under my radar during that era. So I wasn't part of that whole Shadowrun movement, but I did hear about it, and I hear about it constantly. And it had a cult following. So if it's going to be revisited and brought to this gen, I'm all for it, man. And like you said, Cal, it's really one of those things that, Microsoft having control of the property and being able to use it, and then, maybe put a new spin on it, and I believe the original one was first person. So, this again, me and Attic talk about this all the time. This is Microsoft's wheelhouse. That's what they do real well. And, maybe if they think about either multiplayer components to it and stuff like that, that'd be cool as well. But I'd love to see something like this.
First-person shooters sell on Xbox is just a known fact. This is like, despite the fact that the Xbox gets the whole stigma of being the first-person shooter box, it is. It has the best controller for first-person shooters. I mean, it really is built for that. And we prove time and time again that no matter what shooter it is, it does sell significantly well on Xbox. If you point out for example, like Call of Duty, even though Call of Duty went over to PlayStation, people still buy Call of Duty in droves comparable to a system that has twice as many the install base. That's insane.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the controller and everything.
Microsoft comes from, or shall I say, the Xbox comes from a PC lineage. And it's, to me, if I'm Microsoft, I would have tapped into market such a long time ago. Like a long time ago. Like I get what they've done with the Xbox. I think the Xbox was the first console, in my opinion, to really cross over into the PC realm and try to bring those PC-like titles to console. And when I think about games like Knights of the Old Republic and the way that playstyle was, that was a regular type of playstyle on PC. That wasn't normal for consoles back in the day. So a game like Shadowrun is also not normal for the Xbox. And I think that, I'm not saying that they shouldn't do a shooter, and I know a lot of people probably get tired of me trying to change the way games should be, but I just think that if they do a shooter, I hope, and they do an RPG shooter, they do it right. I don't want them to just make it about shooting and killing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I really and truly hope that they make the game about they truly make the game about the world or the lore, the RPG abilities and skills and aspects to it. That's what I truly hope that they tap into, and don't tap into anything else. Because I would hate for them to ruin that franchise or put their foot in their mouths by trying to make the guys do something they shouldn't. It seems when you get news like that, like this game that recently came out with Digital Foundry, with the I think it was called like the Storm. It was like Storm Blood or something like that, in the 1 million man something. Opportunity to get an RPG from. They had an opportunity to get an RPG from Obsidian.
Obsidian,
and Obsidian, and they wind up just asking for too much, asking for them to do too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that could have been a major franchise for them. And instead, they asked for too much. The game winds up getting canceled because Obsidian couldn't meet expectations. They couldn't meet the deadline. And that's my concern with Microsoft. Now, that was Don Matrick. That was the Don Matrick era, obviously. These stuff. Phil Spencer's trying to clean those things up. He made a lot of games that was from the Don Matrick era, got canceled. Whatever happened. We're trying to move forward. I would hope that this new management team is able to fix the things that they, are trying to fix and get back on the path that gives the Xbox fans confidence. But hopefully this game comes to light, they agree to it, and they step out of the way. Let the developers make the games that they feel is the right thing to do. Stop trying to push we needed to be co-op. Oh, we needed to be multiplayer. I understand that's your strength. Be what the developers want it to be. If they want to implement co-op, then let them. Because I think that was one of the reasons why Scalebound fell, besides the other big reason. But mainly trying to push that 4-player co-op, man, I think that really hurt the franchise. And I would hate to see that happen with somebody willing to make the game for you. You don't even have to ask, like Anchor said. So step out of the way, agree to the proposal, and let them do it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Cal. I mean, I think that's a great point in relation to Scalebound as well. Sometimes it's one of those things where Microsoft sometimes gets in their own way. And like you said, if there's a vision from the dev, man, just let them go. Let them do that, because one of the things that we kind of criticize Microsoft sometimes is that the uniqueness in titles. Sometimes they kind of follow that safe formula. So like with this Scalebound situation, when that game was announced, we were so excited because it was so different from the typical Xbox formula, and again, just let them go, let them be creative. Not everything has to be cooperative. Not everything has to have a multiplayer component. And that's one of those things that, like I said, hopefully now in the Phil era, that they're actually going that route and having those diverse titles and, everything looking a bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what I can say about it. It really is like that. That's just the goal. Just like you don't see people just saying, "I want to make a game for you." Like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Just do it.
Yeah.
Don't overthink this. Worst case scenario, it's a bad game, but you're not losing any money because you don't give a crap. You weren't using the franchise anyway.
Right. All right. So yesterday I did a show. I did something I normally don't do. 3 things I don't talk about when it comes to Tick Podcast, whether it's a Tick Podcast channel, whether it's Tick Podcast, the actual podcast show, super pod shots, anything like that, or even with friends online, just in general. I don't talk about religion, race, and politics. I don't. I just really don't. I have a very diverse lineup of friends, different backgrounds, different races. Obviously, to me, that doesn't matter. However, everybody believes in different things and feels different ways. And the last thing I want to do is have a conversation with somebody I'm really cool with or somebody I'm really close with and discover something about them that makes me look at them completely different from the way I was originally looking at them. So I got a chance to talk about the PewDiePie situation. And I try to give my take on that situation. Now, I'm obviously a lot of people are ready to move past this and put the situation to bed. I didn't get a chance to get Anchor's thoughts on the situation or yours, Cog. I kind of missed the show if you guys talked about it last week, Sunday. But in my mind, what I tried to state was that I understood how he said it and why he said it so casually. I'm not saying what he said was the right thing to say. I'm not saying that I'm defending what he's saying at all. I just understand that he comes from a place where there are no repercussions for saying the word, because there's just the population of Black people there is probably next to none. So who is going to feel disrespected or upset at a group of people who don't have to worry about repercussions or people fighting back against that negativity from where he lives at? So for that to come out so casually, I understand it's probably something he says on a regular basis in regular conversations if he's joking about something or someone or something like that. On the flip side, obviously it's not a very cool thing to say. It is not just for the people here in America, it's universal around the entire world. Some people can't understand the differences of why the word, especially the actual word itself, not the word that Black people have changed it to, but the actual word itself, the impact of it from other races. Why is it so derogatory and damning from someone else, from a person that isn't from the Black community or a person of color, honestly? Because even the Lag community is also says the word, but says the word in a way where they relate with the African American community. So it's just one of those things where it's a very touchy subject. A lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people obviously want the word to be removed and abolished. Me personally, I've been changed my dialogue. I've completely tried to change my dialogue, not only for myself, but for my kids. You know what I'm saying? To try to be a better example for them because of the way I grew up. And, obviously you always want to do better and stuff. So I use bro a lot. I use, homie a lot, whatever it is to try to change my language. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect at all in that type of situation. However, my thing is I feel like guys shouldn't rage or be upset at this situation. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, in my opinion, it's to be expected. So why rage? Why get upset? Why try to attack the man? The best thing you can do, in my opinion, is not watch the nonsense. And the best way you can hurt a situation like that is to attack the wallet. If you don't watch, if you don't listen, if you don't support, that's when people change because you're messing with their money. When you start messing with people's money, people pay attention. So that's my thing. And if you feel like you have something to say, do it on your channel and try to educate people, not for them to sympathize with you, but to get empathy. Try to get them to relate to something that they feel is offensive for them, and imagine that being twice or fivefold, because that's how it would be for the group that you feel that it shouldn't be offensive because everybody says it. But in a way it is. There's a history to it, and that's why it has such a negative effect when someone outside of the Black race says it. So I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but it is what it is. That's just the way it is. I don't know why anybody outside of the Black community would want to say it anyway, but for some apparent reason, people do. So just a weird situation. What are your thoughts on this?
Who's jumping in?
Now, as the only white guy on Tick Podcast, and successfully so, the only one who's lasted more than a year, so I feel like I need to mention this. If this was 30 years ago and the internet wasn't as big of a deal anymore, and this was just some random Swedish guy dropping the N-bomb, if it was something like that, I'd be like, okay, completely different culture, completely different group, has no idea what's acceptable or not in the United States. I can give a pass to that. But this is the internet. This is everybody connected under one giant group where everybody knows about everything going on all over the world. There's really no excuse for PewDiePie to even say it. And where he would be exposed to is the internet and playing with other people online. And chances are, if a 6-year-old kid is saying this thing online, it's probably not the right thing to be saying in the first place. Just with this one in particular, I can't give him the ignorance charge. I can't say, oh, he didn't know any better. I don't think he may not be exposed to how big of an issue it is here in the States, but still he should know better. I think it's more of a tactical thing, honestly, because he hasn't said this before, and he's done live streams how many times now? He's been doing this for years, right? He's never slipped up like this before. Mm-hmm. This is the first time he's done it all of a sudden. And what's happened? What else has happened recently? What else has come out? He lost a lot of his sponsorships. He's not under a network anymore. He's free. He's a free man. He doesn't have any oversight. And what do you do when you don't have any oversight and you're still super popular? How do you get your name out in the public? How do you get that attention? The answer is be a shock jock. What you do is you throw something out there to get people pissed. You do something like that, and you get everyone's attention all over again. And as it's already been proven, he's not losing steam. His views are going back up every time he does stuff like this. Let alone, like, ever since last week where this happened, he's already supposedly slipped up 6 times already. And it's all talk about, like, oh, PewDiePie almost said it again. PewDiePie almost said it again. Look. His name is everywhere. I just cannot believe that, even though he's in another country, still, he hasn't screwed up before, but he's screwing up now. I view it as kind of suspect on my end, but so I don't give an excuse to the guy. I don't believe that it's entirely benign, but that's where I sit on this.
Yeah, this is a touchy one. I've been listening to all my tick brethren on this. The Lords did not actually touch the subject, and I'm kind of in the same vein as Cal in the sense that the 4 no-nos for me even extend. The 3 no-nos that Cal had actually extended to me in a sense of 4, which is like race, religions, politics, and sexuality. Those are things I don't touch. And like Cal said, it's like, those are things that I'm here to game, right? I'm here to have fun, to have a good time. Now, obviously, this is a different situation because PewDiePie is in gaming. He's one of the biggest, personalities out there. I personally do not watch him. I got to be completely honest. I couldn't tell you what he does. I just know from a successful standpoint, he's one of the top guys. So, as far as the word itself, obviously we know the history of the word. We know it's disgusting. We know that there's some, I don't want to say hypocrisies, but there's some groups who can use it, some can't use it, that kind of bit. It's one of those things that, based on what I've seen with the situation, again, all I've heard that this is not the first time he slipped up on something I would consider racially insensitive. So, from my understanding, he's had a track record of this, and it's unacceptable. Regardless, at the end of the day, it's unacceptable. So, but I do agree with Cal again in the sense that, attacking the person and getting at him and, they're going to do this to him and that to him. I'm not about that. Like you said, you attack with a wallet. You attack with the viewership. You attack by not listening. You attack by not supporting, that kind of thing. And when those things stockpile, there's an effect, As far as I heard there was an apology, I saw one. I don't know if there was another one after. I know the one I saw, the vibe I didn't get didn't feel sincere. It didn't feel like there was any lesson to be learned or anything like that. Again, I don't know what's in that man's heart. I really don't. I have tons of friends, tons of different backgrounds, ethnicities, everything. So, these type of things, they're touchy, they're very touchy. So at the end of the day, I don't know that man's character. I know nothing about him. I don't support him. I don't follow him. So that's just where I'm at with it. And, I really appreciate the Tick guys getting on this because I watched 2 for 5 shots, Cal, and I definitely felt what you were saying. I watched Kid on this. Shout out to Fame. I watched everybody's, reaction to it. And I actually respect, what Anchorman is saying too. And then a shout out to Addict. He had to make some comments because it's tough because some people feel that, because they're not of that group, how do you respond to it? That kind of bit. By the end of the day, he has to live with that. And if you really feel that way about him, don't support his content. That's it, period. So that's where I'm at with it.
Right. Well, again, I'm not sitting here. I'm not trying to pick on the situation. Obviously, it's just one of those things that it really shouldn't have a place in gaming. We've heard this a million times when we've played Gears, we've played the CODs, we've played whatever. And sometimes you don't even have to be a person of African descent or from the Black community or anything to be called it. Some dudes just say it randomly, just call you like, really, one of those type of things. So, it is what it is at the end of the day. My thing is with it was that initially it wasn't sincere. I think it was only sincere after the fact, once everything passed, and probably he had to be forced to kind of make this apology because clearly he kind of moved on from it so quickly, but in the heat of the moment, it's just one of those things where it's like, oops, I said that out loud. And that's kind of crazy to me to actually recognize and say, oops, I said that out loud, basically, in a way. But anyway, situation is definitely hypocritical from the Black community. You know, you have rappers that say it, you have guys that hang out with each other and say it. I know a ton of people that's listening to the show right now sit in parties with guys that say it on a regular basis, in regular conversations, like it's nothing. As soon as somebody else says it, that's you know, not conform to the people who should be saying it, they spaz out and they get upset. So yes, it is hypocritical. I completely I don't disagree with that. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, man. And you know, until we figure out better ways of fixing both our communication with each other as people, healing up as a country, healing up as human beings, it's just going to be very tough going forward. And hopefully we can get through this, not just in gaming, but period, in the United States and around the world. So anyway.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. So what's next on the docket for us tonight?
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about Cliffy B for a moment. Speaking of apologies, so for those of you that were not aware or have been under a rock for over a decade, Cliffy B is a notable developer for his work on the Gears of War franchise and what was it, Unreal Tournament? I think it was Unreal Tournament. So ever since Gears of War 3, he has kind of stepped back off these projects and has made his own studio. This studio in particular, he has been with lately, has been known as Boss Key. He's been working on this game called Lawbreakers, as you know, and has launched that back in August. I actually picked it up. I've played the game. I think overall it's a pretty decent game. I enjoy it. It's a fun time. I see no issue with it. Now, the thing in particular that got a lot of ire from Xbox fans, for those of you that don't know already, is he pretty much antagonized the Xbox community in particular during the pitch period of the game. One of the things in particular was there was no Xbox version being announced or released, so people asked, like, when is one coming? And there's like, I don't know, I don't really care. Then eventually started kind of like just calling people out in particular. It kind of launched everything into a firestorm. He got a lot of negative press, at least from Xbox fans, not a lot of the PlayStation guys and the regular community really didn't care. It came out, and let's put it this way. For a game that just came out in its launch month, it actually had less players than Battleborn. And at its all-time low, it was at 50 players. Only 50 people in the world were playing Lawbreakers.
I got to give Cliffy his props because at least he's still supporting it. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if Sony canceled the game. Like,
Sony has no right over it. Yeah.
I understand that. I'm just saying it sounds like it would be something that Sony would do. Like, I've seen, you know what I'm saying? Like, this game at this point is unfortunately DOA. Yeah. It was DOA when he released it. He turned away the base that probably would have supported it. Now, I said this on my show yesterday. Logically, it was the right choice. I know a lot of Xbox fans don't want to hear that. I know guys will boast about Xbox Live and how we play online and things, and I 100% agree with you. But if I'm a developer, if I'm an indie developer on top of that, I don't have a corporation like Activision, a publisher like EA supporting me and giving me a budget. This is money that me and my team have pulled together, and we've built this game, and we're baking on this game. I want to make sure that if I can sell the game, that it goes out to as many people as possible. And you're talking about, and the reality of it is, you're talking about 30 million people or 35 million or whatever it may be on the Xbox One, and almost 59 to 60 million people on PS4. That's a 30 million person demographic that you are missing. That's 30 million people you have an opportunity to sell to. I think the problem with the game is the genre already has Overwatch. The genre also has a ton of other shooters to compete with, and you're releasing it around the time of Destiny.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, he could not have predicted Overwatch. The game was in development for 4 years. Like, to be fair,
Overwatch been out forever.
No. The Lawbreakers have been in development for 4 years, and Blizzard didn't tell anybody about Overwatch until like 6 months before it came out. Like, it was he could not have predicted that. He waited a year to stay away from Overwatch. It didn't work, but he tried. You gotta I give him a pass on that. He couldn't have helped that.
Man, they should have went back to the drawing board.
Blizzard is an act of God, though. Blizzard's like, when Blizzard shows up, everyone's like cowers down a little bit. Like, we're gonna sit back here and just gotta wait this out. Wait out the Blizzard.
Yeah, no, it's tough. It's definitely tough for the game, man. I feel bad for the guy. I know a lot of people don't. But listen, he knows he knows he's not a cool person. He knows that his mouth gets him in trouble and has turned a lot of people away. And he's pushed away the fan base that actually knew who he was from one of the best franchises in the history of video games. People don't want to admit that, but it is a $1 billion franchise, lots of awards. And it's just one of those things where how do you make up with the base that you've scorned? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you fix that? How do you fix that situation? Because I truly believe at some point, like right now would be the time to say, hey, Microsoft, would you like to publish Lawbreakers on the Xbox One? You know what I'm saying? One of those type of things. Or go to the Idea Xbox program like, hey, we want to release Lawbreakers on the Xbox One or the Xbox One X with enhancements. Now is the time to do that. Because
now's the time to click boot. Now,
it's time to bend the knee.
He is. I think he put himself too much in the spotlight because he is a name and personality. I think he let his mouth write a check that he couldn't cash, unfortunately for him. And now that team is in a situation where they are doing everything they can to make sure this game does not die. Because I think if this game dies,
Bosky's dead. Bosky's dead.
Yeah. And that would suck for Cliffy.
Yeah, this is tough. I mean, I like Cliffy personally. I know his mouth is reckless. I remember there being at the PC show at E3, and I mean, he was talking the talk. He was talking it. This is a $4 game, none of that $60 multiplayer only crap. I mean, his mouth was reckless. So I understand the Xbox community's, kind of snickering, right now at the failure. And it's actually surprised. I knew Overwatch was in that space, but like Edgar said, you figured a year out, with something fresh, something, new, a nice spin on it. From everything I hear, I have not got a chance to play the game. Every time I try to play the game, there's always something that came up and happened. But from all I hear, the game is really good. I heard it really, shout out to B-Money. He talks about it. You guys talk. I see my feed. Everyone loves it. And I'm one of those guys that even if, however I feel about a developer or, anybody in games, I never want to see studios die. That's one thing I'm very passionate about. Like, I don't want to see that. Some of your favorite games, don't even exist anymore because of, said studio behind it is gone. So at the same time, like, I know he made a comment. He said, hey, he's not going to let this thing die. He's going to try to ride it out to the end, and maybe this is the time you come back to Microsoft, and you say, hey, you publish this thing, whatever we got to do to get this out to let this thing not die, so I do. And also, I'm not, like Kyle said, I'm not mad at him for making the choice of PS4. It's business. It's logic. They have the install base.
It perfectly makes sense. It was a logical choice at a logical time.
Absolutely. I get it. It just didn't work out, and he's got to take the L on this. He's got to hold the L and keep supporting it. And the only thing he can hope for at this point, the way I see it, is kind of similar situation to Rainbow Six Siege. And if you remember, when Siege came out, it didn't do much. It didn't do what they thought it was going to do, Ubisoft. And time after time, they kept, they kept with the support. They kept listening to the community, and I think if I remember, Anchor, quote me, because I know you guys are the Hardcore Siege guys. There was they did like a free weekend or
yes,
free week.
that was
that was key. It was like right before the DLC dropped.
What was it? It was what was the weekend? Because I remember I picked it up like 3 weeks ago.
I picked it up.
It was over the summer, back summer of 2016. It was July. We were in the drought. It was bad. And I remember it was the great drought of 2016. we were coming back, and I remember we was what was it? It was I remember because I had it for a couple of months, and I had all the DLC characters.
Same here.
And I remember because the NLG guys all got it on the free weekend. And so we started playing, and it was like me and Morganism, we were playing together, and we were just having a good time. And we just started playing together, and we started we were playing custom matches against each other, and then all of a sudden it was started clicking with people, and we're like, oh man, this game's all fun. I'm really enjoying this. I'm really enjoying this game. And so over that one weekend, everybody got to play it, and they had full access to the game. It was nothing was locked. You got to play the whole game.
Yep.
And all the progression. And so people played all weekend. Like, this is fun. This is great. And what ended up happening was that after the weekend was over on Tuesday. Because on Tuesday the DLC came out, but then Microsoft did a deal where they slashed the price in half.
Yes.
For $30, everybody jumped on board. It was great.
Yep, and I remember like it was yesterday. I mean, like you said, the great gaming drive was perfect timing, perfect time to get people familiar with the game who may have missed it and didn't touch it. And then I remember people like, yo, this game is really good, and you put it right with the DLC, and then boom, the community just spiked, and it was like a resurgence. And
it's still in the top 5 games.
Yeah, and that's one of the games I'm so proud of, from 2016 to see how it's living. And me, Edgar knows me. I'm always on that, most games played, games played list. Edgar, we used to have the battles back in the day. Who's playing the most? And it's just refreshing. That's one game that you're doing even the Destiny stage, Destiny Vanilla, and I was just like, wow, look at Rainbow Six Siege still up there. Look at this. This is impressive, man. What a comeback. And in Cliffy's case, you just hope something like that can happen. But yeah, it's time to bend the knee to Microsoft. That's my thing.
Word. It's time to bend the knee for facts, bro. Definitely. Oh man, that's too funny. So iterative games. What is this, Anchor? What is
iterative games? So this is an issue you see people come up with a lot. Destiny 2 on a Metacritic is getting what would they call meta bombed. If you take a look at the user reviews, this happens a lot. Like, this is not an uncommon thing. But this particular time, and for those who don't know, meta bombing is basically where people get mad at something or they love something, and they go in there and they try to skew the average score by throwing it off like that. Like people do this. Like I remember back in the console war of 2013 when the PlayStation 4 finally dropped on Amazon. A bunch of Xbox guys went onto the Amazon reviews and gave it a bunch of 1 stars. They all did, and they, even though nobody had it, they were just trying to lower that the average score. And then when the Xbox came out, PlayStation guys did the same exact thing. This has happened for years. When an Xbox exclusive launches, you'll go through on Metacritic and you'll see 0 out of 10, 0 out of 10, 0 out of 10. It's always some weird reason behind it, and they try to. You'll see they'll copy paste answers too. You'll see this a lot, where people are just going in there just trying to affect the score. So Destiny 2 right now is getting meta bombed, and the same thing that's coming up every single time is, oh, it's just an add-on DLC. Oh, it's just an add-on DLC. It's just why are we just paying for DLC? And so now, this is just an old topic everyone's talked about to death already. But with Destiny 2 in particular, because we got Incognito here, with this one in particular, as people are coming out saying these kinds of games are iterative, this normally gets thrown around games like Call of Duty, Madden, every sports game on the planet. It's just, you see this all the time, and this is just more of an idea, especially in the case of Destiny 2. Do you guys think a game coming out every single year, like Call of Duty, where it's just a new coat of paint, same gameplay every single year, is a better model? Or would Destiny's kind of pulling off lately, where it's more of a, yeah, we're not putting out a thing every year, but it's DLC every year, where it's just almost the same price?
I would prefer the DLC every year, and I'll explain why. When you play a game, after about a year, you've put X amount of time into it. You've established what you want out of the game. So if you put that amount of time into, if you put 300 hours to a game, you clearly enjoy and like this game. Like, there's no, man, after putting 300 hours into this game, Destiny was like horrendous. It was the worst game I've ever played.
Thank you, Cal.
You just put 300 hours into Destiny 1. Like, you know, I'm not gonna sit here. I have my gripes with Destiny, with the Grim Wars, the repetitiveness of the game, but I put like 270 hours into Destiny. You'll never hear me say, yo, Destiny's a 5 out of 10. Nah, I was into it. You know what I mean? I needed the next exotic. I needed to play the next DLC. They got me. They did get me. I admit it. You know, I was handed out money too. But my thing is, when you make a new game and it's $60 and you have to buy that new game, you expect new things. And when you don't get that, it's like, what am I spending my money on? This is why I kind of like the direction games like 2K and Madden are going now. They're giving you stories, single player experiences within a competitive sports game. You know, you're the point guard that is coming out of college and on his way to the league, and there's a story behind it. Or you're the quarterback making his way into the NFL draft, trying to get that first pick. And they actually allow you to play college games, you know, before even getting drafted, and you make decisions. That's huge. That is something that I never imagined a sports game would actually do. And to me, that's really impressive. So you have a reason to get Madden every year. You have a reason to get 2K every year, because they're giving you, they could do so much with it. You know, they can go into talking about domestic violence, like the Ezekiel Elliott case, or you can talk about, PEDs and basketball or football, or just any plethora of things that happen to occur. You can even do something like guys taking a knee during the anthem in the next Madden next year and make that a controversial time. And people will eat that up. And that's what's crazy about it. But prior to that, damn, I wish 2K5 would come back. We need another football game. Because
Shout out
it's
to
Madden every year. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad that they're changing it. And it's the same thing with COD. COD gets repetitive. Assassin's Creed gets repetitive. Though it's a new story, it's the same mechanics over and over and over again. So it's just one of those things where you look at Assassin's Creed, they're actually changing the entire game. It's no longer based on opening up the map and assassinating people after doing certain little quests and side missions. It's actually an RPG experience. It's actually an actual true RPG this time around, where you're leveling up, you're getting access to new abilities and weapons. The world is open. And yes, it still has the fighting mechanics of Assassin's Creed, but the way things are done is different, and that's new. So for me, yeah, I would rather have something that's DLC, because I feel like the game is already there. You've enjoyed the game. You know what the game is, and it's not new. They're not trying to trick you. They're just trying to give you more of a great experience compared to a game that comes out every year and is just trying to shove the same stuff with minimum effort put into it.
Yeah, this is a good topic. Completely agree. I mean, we talked about this on the ILP before, and I think I was the first to admit, like, I'm addicted to like when it's a franchise I love, I'm addicted to it. I remember like Mass Effect and like Shadow Broker DLC, and I had every DLC for that game. And I loved it. When it's something that extends the life of a universe or franchise that you love, I'm absolutely in support of it. So I guess that's why Destiny does resonate with me in such a way, and that also they make changes to it, that I do like. Taken King was a great example of that, where they really kind of rebuilt systems and really changed the way things were earned and stuff like that in a positive way. So stuff like that I'm always a fan of. And to your point, Cal, with the sports games, it's a great point. I think this is a great way to go. I love what EA's doing with Madden and the long shot, and they almost play out like little morality choices. I was playing 2K on the Switch, and it's like, you play the first pickup game to get shown by the scouts. It's this thing called a proving grounds. I did my thing. At the end of the game, the agent for the Chicago Bulls comes up to me. He's like, "Look, man, you did your thing. I really want you to, come out by, trial." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And he's like, "Do you have an agent?" And it was kind of like a yes/no situation. And I was just like, if I say yes, I can get a shot to the team. If I say no, that could hurt my future. So I said, let me go the honest route and just say no. Because I'm like, what if I get burnt later and they find out I really don't got an agent? So I said no. And he's like, "Look, I'm sorry, I can't talk with you anymore." He's like, "Until you don't have an agent, I'm not allowed to talk to anybody." He had an agent, so it kind of set my character back initially with some stuff before I was able to get an agent. But again, what sports games are doing now is really great, and I think it really can help a person who may not even be into the hardcore competitive Madden or the NBA 2K scene to have this story-driven content that you can keep pushing the, year after year. And I hear with EA's long shot, they intend on doing that. Like every season is going to be more and more. So I'm all about it, man. As long as it's not, what I hate is kind of like the yearly franchises, like the CODs and even Assassin's Creed. It's one of those things that I was so happy Assassin's Creed took a break. Like I'm so refreshed to see it, more than a 1 year development cycle, you know what I'm saying? And then really, go ahead with it. So I'm all about this change and what's going on in gaming right now, and hopefully it continues.
I guess for me in particular, it most of the time it does depend on the kind of game, but like for sports games in particular, I feel like most of the time it's like, oh, we could just sit here and refine the system and just update the character roster. Like here, $15, update your characters. Here's your stats, and if you want to play online, you gotta update these stats. Like if they did something like that, it'd be like, okay, yeah, cool, like that works. I can get down with that. It's just a lot of this stuff is like most of it is like a little cash grab stuff because you're just paying for the overhaul, and they claim, oh, it's a new engine sometimes, and then other times, like whatever, like with Madden when they moved over to the Frostbite engine, it's like, okay, I could get paying for that. Like we just moved over to a whole new engine. It was a lot more work. But the next Madden game that went after that, you didn't change engines. It's still the same engine.
I hear what you're saying.
So yeah,
I hear what you're saying.
So at least in that way, I'm like, I'm not feeling that. So
I feel you.
That's what's up. So before we head out of here, man, with the Xbox One X, next couple of months, we're not going to be getting any special design Xbox One X's. That was confirmed from Aaron Greenberg when I got a chance to chat with him at E3, because it's a brand new console and they're not going to make any special design consoles other than the Scorpio edition, which is just basically some lettering. I'm actually contemplating just, canceling that order and going to reserve a regular edition on the at Best Buy, because I have a ton of credit at Best Buy that I can use instead of spending my own money on the console. But the Xbox One X will have bundles. They'll have bundled games. And I'm trying to see what you guys think would be the best bundle to put together this holiday season for the Xbox One X to truly get guys and people to buy the console, because we all know Microsoft is going to come out with some bundle come Black Friday, pick up an Xbox One X and X amount of games. So name 3 games you think would be the best package Microsoft could put together for the Xbox One X. What do you think?
Do we have a price limit? We have a price limit? Like we're talking like are we saying like when we go to the store we're still paying $500 for this system?
You're still paying. We'll say 500 to 550.
500, 550.
Because they won't really make a big jump. It'll mostly probably be around the same price. If anything, they maybe add an additional $50, but I doubt they hit the 600 mark.
Do we have to do one bundle or do we do 2 bundles?
No, one bundle.
One bundle. Gotcha.
Yeah, the 1 terabyte.
1 terabyte. No frills, just games.
And just
Gotcha.
games.
All right. So first off, what you do, you throw in. I feel like you should allow you to have a little build your own kind of deal where you could pick your AAA. But I'd probably lean more towards trying to focus on the Wolfenstein deal, namely because that's your big Nazi shooter, and it's probably honestly, other than Assassin's Creed, it's probably the biggest game coming out that isn't claimed by Sony already. I'd lean more towards that end, but really the big one's got to be you got to throw in 3 months of Game Pass and then PUBG. You get a PUBG voucher.
Okay.
Because PUBG better be out by then.
One would hope.
Okay. What do you think?
I'm up. Let me see. I'm up. Let me see. I would say you kind of have to throw Shadow of War in the mix, just because of what that title can do, graphically on the X. From a financial standpoint, I think the winner is Assassin's Creed, just because they have the marketing rights. It's a huge title. It can show the power of the X versus, the other consoles. So I think that's probably where they might go with it. And then the third, if they're sneaky, I have a sneaky choice. You'd somehow fit that Destiny in the mix.
Okay.
You do what they did last time, just recently, where you kind of got around. You kind of got around the marketing where it's like, oh, pick your own game, and oh, by the way, Destiny 2 is part of it. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of deal. Like, however, if they can finagle, because at the end of the day, it's like you get to get that title, which is huge, for the holidays. They can't do Call of Duty, obviously. Sony has that, and I believe, but they have Battlefront as well. So you can't do those titles, which are big. But that's kind of like the next big thing. And again, if they're able to, but the first two I would say in order would be Assassin's Creed #1, and then I would go Shadow of War #2.
If I'm Microsoft, I go. First of all, I get an exclusive in there, so we do Forza 7.
Oh yeah, I forgot Forza
because that's your showcase racer.
Forgot about that.
Then I turn around, I put Assassin's Creed, because that's your open world RPG, that's your marketing game. And for your shooter, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Sony already has it.
Sony got the marketing.
They have the marketing, but that does, like Destiny, you work a way around it. You work a way around that somehow. You get that game on your console, and that is the game you got at kiosk, and you show off the power of the Xbox One with Star Wars Battlefront. All three of those games are absolutely gorgeous on the Xbox One. It shows you what it can do graphically. All three of those games are probably going to be really good and highly rated. It's rare that we get a bad rated Assassin's Creed, and this one looks even better than most Assassin's Creed. Probably be the best Forza Motorsport we've had in a long time. And Star Wars Battlefront was like a big improvement over the first with the actual single player campaign. You put those three games in a bundle, way you move units. You move units with that Xbox One X. Now, let's say, for example, you don't have to put, if you don't get the Forza Battlefront, you stick with the Assassin's Creed, you stick with the Forza Motorsport 7, and throw in Super Lucky Tail. And what that gives you is a smorgasbord of games. You have your adventure game, you have your racing game, and you have your platformer. And the platformer is great because the adults pick up the game for themselves. They pick up the racer, they pick up the Assassin's Creed, but the kids want to play. They want to play on that big home theater, that 4K screen they see daddy playing on, and you pop in Super Lucky Tail and give it a try. And it looks beautiful in its big, bright HDR colors. I'm telling you, man.
I see the vision. I see you. I see the vision.
Right there.
You can't go wrong with that. I definitely see where you're going. I completely forgot about Forza. I had a brain fart with that. You're completely right with Forza. Regardless to how I get exhausted with Forza sometimes, but it is a seller. It is a huge game. It showcases the power of the system. It's Microsoft exclusive. You're completely right with that. So
I disagree with the Forza. I think, well, other than, no, not the Forza, sorry. Shadow of War that you mentioned earlier. Because there's only one game that will be 4K native, 60 frames per second.
Which is the Forza?
Wolfenstein 2. It's the only first person shooter, third party, that's 4K 60 FPS.
Facts. Yeah, facts.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
Like, people won't be able to tell the difference, really. They'll see that, and like people don't notice what's like 60 like when they have 60 frames per second, they're like, oh wow, this is great. But they don't know what it is per se.
Right.
But they'll associate that with the power of the Scorpio.
Right.
Like they'll think of it that way, and so I think that'll help too. So
I see where you're going with it. You can't go wrong with that either. You can't go wrong. They got some options. They've got some.
Either
options.
way, they have some options. They look like they'll have a nice little lineup to work with. And I can't finally get my hands on one of these consoles, man. I'm excited about it. I know a lot of Xbox fans are excited about it. And hopefully once people are able to pre-order the regular edition, I don't know when they're going to put those out. I heard soon. But whenever people are ready to pre-order the regular edition, hopefully these things sell out or the pre-orders are just as high as the Scorpio edition. So good luck to Microsoft, and we wish them much success. So listen, man, that's it for the show this week. We will be back next week, Saturday at 10 p.m. with another episode of Tick Podcast and Premiere Podcast for Xbox. I want to thank Lord Cognito for stepping in tonight.
Much appreciated.
The Trinity continues to be the Trinity. Much appreciated. You know, I'm glad that we can finally put this PewDiePie thing to bed, move on from that. And, you know, the Xbox is right around the corner. Another month, guys.
I know.
October is coming up, man. And once we get through October, the X1X is here. So hopefully everybody has their pre-order set and ready to go. Tomorrow, you can catch the hottest, newest podcast on the Inner Circle Network, the Iron Lord Podcast. Iron Lord Podcast at 11 a.m. right before Sunday afternoon football begins. Make sure you tune in to Lord Cognito, King David. Lord King David, Lord Saab, and Lord Attic. And make sure you check these guys out, man. These guys are so freaking hilarious. On point, everything. Knowledgeable about gaming, but they make you laugh. So much energy. Gotta love this show. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. And of course, Anchorman V with the greatest show on Mondays, the Multiverse Podcast. Make sure you tune into that show to hear about the latest with movies, comics, video games, and more. And of course, don't forget 2XP. And we don't have Trophy Life yet. Trophy Life will return. We are working on getting that up for our PlayStation base. But you can catch Super Pod Shots now Fridays at 11, and of course, Tick Podcast Saturdays at 10. Make sure you tune in also. If you want to catch us on the go, iTunes, Google Play, pretty much any podcast app, make sure you look up Tick Podcast as one word, TIC Podcast, or TIC Space Network to check out all of our shows. On the network, you'll get 2XP Podcast, Multiverse Podcast, Iron Lord Podcast, and our older shows from Trophy Life. And of course, on Tick Podcast, you get the official Tick Podcast show and Super Pod Shots, as well as some of our retro shows from Anchorman with Top Shelf. So make sure you tune in there, man, and make sure you go to TICGN.com and support the base site. We are truly grateful for everybody that tunes in. TICGN.com is basically the bread and butter to everything that we do. So make sure you get your news from there. These guys really work hard for you, and make sure you tune in there. So we're going to go ahead and end the show. I don't know if anybody, if we have any time to do a question or two, because I usually do these Q&As. It's kind of late, but I want to knock one out real quick. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and start to put them in the chat. I'm going to end the show for the MP3 crowd. You can catch all the new shows tomorrow. And I want to thank everybody for stopping out. So I'm your host, KLR Kalel, with Anchorman V.
See you guys.
And Lord Cognito. And we're out of here. Peace. All right. So, hey, man, I want to thank everybody for stopping out. Victor Alistine, D Truth 49, Brian, Civ, what up, Civ? What's going on? Wayne, I want to thank you guys for stopping. Now, some guys earlier, man, I seen the conversation you guys were having earlier about Overwatch and the PewDiePie situation and things like that. I agree with some of the things that you guys were saying out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to make any excuses for PewDiePie or anything like that or whatever. I'm just, from a logical perspective, I can understand why someone from his background would say it so casually, and you know, it just comes out like it's nothing. And it's not to say that he's ignorant. Obviously, he is not ignorant. He understands what he said. It's just, again, I just don't. There's no repercussions to it. So for him, it was just a nonchalant thing that he always says. So if you guys have any questions, go ahead, leave them in the chat, and we will definitely do our best to answer them. Let's see here.
I'm waiting for the chat to show up a little bit. I need to call out. Fame. You traitor.
Why? What happened?
This man. Let me talk about Fame for a moment. Fame. You had the choice. You had to choose between Xbox and PlayStation for Destiny 2. I understand that exclusive content was swaying your choice. I get that. I understand. But you had the opportunity to play with the Lords. You had the opportunity to help Channel 5, the official clan of the Inner Circle. Screw KOR.
Wow.
You had this opportunity and you spit in our face. I am insulted, sir.
Shout out to Lord Fame, man. Let that man live.
you will be getting this work in Multiverse when you come here on Monday.
I would tune in for that one. That's gonna be funny. Oh man, too funny.
Hey, Anchor man, you better watch your back, man. You out here taking shots at KOR. You taking shots at a person in the chat. The utter disrespect, and then take a shot at another person not even on the show in the same family. Oh man, you better watch all your games, man. I'll mess around and do a ninjutsu pop up in your house and crack that Xbox in half. You won't be able to play nothing. Oh, that's just nuts. No, funny. I agree though. Fame definitely should have hopped on the Xbox with the Destiny. I saw that, but you know what? He was influenced. He was influenced.
He was deceived. Had him.
He was influenced by B Money 101, who has been brainwashed from being on Brat. They have turned him into a neutral. Shout out to Brat. They turned him into a neutral. He's buying Destiny on PlayStation now, and he's no longer picking it up on Xbox and stuff. He's got Destiny and 2K on PlayStation. This is just blasphemy. This is blasphemy. We got to get him out. We got to save him. We got to get him out of.
He needs an intervention.
He needs an intervention.
All right, guys. We're gonna go over. We're gonna go to B Money's house. We're gonna make a pilgrimage. We're gonna go there. We're gonna fix this.
We got to save B Money. We definitely got to do that. All right. So first question, Zedpo1 asks, do you think Microsoft will turn Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey into a franchise like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy? No.
Nope.
I wouldn't even be looking for those games at this point. Unless Miss Walker signs on, until you hear Miss Walker signs on, don't look for those games. If Microsoft was going to do anything with those games, they would have already made studios. Trust me, those games would have already been in the works. Those games are one and done at this point. Hopefully, we'll get something one day, but right now, I just see them as one and done. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. That's kind of a one and done deal. As much as I would love to see it, I can't see it happening as a franchise. But they definitely sorely missing in those genres, in the JRPG genres. It's something they do need to kind of reinvest in.
Right.
Yeah, you guys, we just gotta break down here. Seriously, those games aren't coming anymore.
Yeah.
The only game from back in the day that's coming back is Fusion Frenzy.
You and this Fusion Frenzy.
I swear to God, Fusion Frenzy is coming.
Gosh. I don't know. So Victor Alistine says your thoughts on Tomonobu Itagaki's statement. I haven't read anything recently on this. I'm actually trying to look up anything new on his statement. If you want to put that in the chat, we'll read the gist of it. I didn't catch it. Did you guys catch anything from him?
No, this is news to me. I did not know he made a statement.
I didn't know who it is.
Itagaki, he is the guy who does the Ninja Gaiden series.
Yeah.
Who was with Team Ninja and now no longer is with Team Ninja.
Oh.
Yeah, Victor, put us on. What did he say? Because I'm very curious.
Yeah.
Unless he said I'm quitting and I'm gonna work on Fusion Frenzy. I don't know. I don't care what he has to say.
If it's about that Ninja Gaiden and that, remember that the quote unquote list of Xbox, it was like the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the next 2 years.
Right.
The Ninja Gaiden's on that list, and I said, look, I would love to be wrong if Ninja Gaiden's on that, So hey, tell me, what's going on.
Absolutely, I would love to get a new Ninja Gaiden, man. I hope
Ninja Gaiden so bad.
Something. That'd be great. D21 says if Cuphead is successful on Xbox, will Microsoft buy Studio MHR? I would hope so. I doubt it. They didn't buy Moon Studios, who are the guys that make Ori and the Blind Forest. I think they worked out a great contractual agreement with them right now. They got Ori and the Will-O-Wisp.
Will-O-the-Wisp, yeah.
The Will of the Wisp, the Will of the Wisp coming out either next year or the year after. So we know that's in production, which is great because the first Ori was amazing and a really good game. I actually played that game twice, both the regular and definitive editions. So very impressed with the game. And honestly, it is a studio that they need to purchase. But again, it all comes down to whether that studio wants to be bought. You got to think if you're an owner of something, how much money will it take for you to sell something you built?
Yeah,
that you own. It's one of those things. Was like if Microsoft came to me and they said we want to buy Tick Network, it ain't gonna be much money for them. It ain't gonna take much for them to tell me, hey, we want to give you $100K. Now let me stop. But you gotta really think about what is your studio worth to you? How much blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it? That's why the guys at Remedy never was purchased by Microsoft. They've been an independent studio forever. They don't have a publisher. Microsoft could have bought them 10 years ago, but for some reason, obviously, it didn't work out. Crytek could have been bought when they were down in the dumps, but they didn't, and they've somehow recovered some way. But I'm sure Microsoft made an offer on Rise, and they turned it down. Some people just don't want to be purchased.
Yeah, you made a good point on that, your last Super Pod Shots, Cal, because I think a lot of Xbox fans don't understand that. Like, it has to be beneficial to the studio. Like, because at the end of the day, they would, for Microsoft to buy an exclusive from the studio standpoint, it's like, okay, yeah, that's great, but how much potential money could be lost with another system as the PlayStation that has this huge install base? So that's the other factor people have to really look into, and see. It's all relative to the studio, and you can't, fault them. Sometimes we don't even know behind the scenes that Microsoft may be trying to acquire these things, kind of stuff. So it's one of those. There's always good food for thought as far as the exclusive game and how things work.
Man, not even talking about the PlayStation for a moment. Like, hell, Switch.
Facts.
I mean, look at Wonder Boy. What was that other game? Oceanhorn. They sold more copies of Oceanhorn
about that.
Switch.
We're going to talk about that
the
on
Xbox
ILP
and
tomorrow,
PlayStation
baby.
Combined. It's been out for 2 years.
Listen, tune into the ILP tomorrow. We are going to get at that. It's from the indie standpoint of these devs able to make all this money on this platform, outselling the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 combined. These are interesting numbers, man. Really interesting stuff going on.
I will say part of that is the desperation for games. Where people are looking for something to play, so the attach rate's naturally going to be up. But at the same time,
I was gonna say shout out to Lord King because he's like, because they don't got no apps and they don't got no. There's nothing to do in that damn system. So I already know I'm gonna hear from King and Addict tomorrow. I'm prepared, but hopefully Sav will back me up because they're like, of course, there's nothing else to play.
I hear that. Victor Alistine asks, what do you think about games like Too Human and Avid Rising being considered for reboots? I actually think those games should be considered for reboots and they should completely be redone. Too Human, in my opinion, was almost like a cyberpunk Viking lore RPG, just that was a disaster. They tried to get the Unreal Engine to work with the game and build it under Unreal. Unfortunately, something happened between them and Epic. It didn't work out. That studio sued Epic and actually won that case. But by the time the game released, it just was not what they had envisioned, and the game did extremely poor. I didn't like the controls myself. I played it. I really tried my best to get into it. You play as Baldur, one of the Viking gods, and it's like a combination of humans being mixed with technology. They're not fully cybernetic. They're not fully cyborgs, but they have all this technology built into their bodies, and it gives them abilities. And they've made all the enemies robotic. So if you can think of, if you've never heard of Too Human, think of, it's not gameplay wise. I don't want to say gameplay wise, but if you think of the way they tried to make Horizon Zero Dawn, where the dinosaurs were robotic, think of all of the creatures in Viking lore and make them all machines. That's what they did. And it was a really great idea. It just was poorly executed and it flopped. And Avid Rising also flopped. And that was actually supposed to be a huge title for the original Xbox. And unfortunately, it just didn't take off and pan out the way they wanted to. That was going to be a big adventure game. And I think that's the type of game you can build like Uncharted, but imagine it would be Uncharted in a sci-fi setting where it's like almost you're dealing with different alien races, political things. It's almost like Star Trek in a way, except you're not traveling through space. You're just dealing with aliens and conspiracies and things like that. It's really dope. Third person adventure game. It was great, man. Those are games that definitely should be rebooted. I would hope Microsoft would look into it, but knowing Microsoft, we ain't never gonna see them games. We got guys asking for freaking Mech Assault and all types of games, but we're never going to see those games. So that's unfortunate.
I like the concept. It sounds good. Give it the old Bethesda reboot. Just call the next game Too Human. No one will care. just start all over again. I mean, worked out for Bethesda. Yeah. Like just keep the spirit of the game. Pay homage to it and just kind of move on from there. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Shout out to Victor in the chat. He actually put the link up in reference to the Itagaki statement. If I can just talk about it real briefly. He pretty much he abandoned his position as CEO at Valhalla at Games, and he made a press release. He's going to take on a new role as a lead advisor, and he's been working night and day, developing a new game. And he says at the same time he'll be working together and creating games with a number of studios around the world. So that's pretty interesting.
That is an interesting statement. He stepped down as CEO of Valhalla. That means he was stressed the hell out.
Yeah.
I mean, when you step down as the boss, man, that means you are truly either you had a scandal where they made you step down. Like, honestly, I think that's, it's either they made you step down.
Know, maybe. I'm not sure about that. Like, some people step down for good reasons. Sometimes they want to get on like
It is very rare that a CEO.
Like, look at Adam Boyce.
It's rare that a CEO steps down, though.
Yeah, it's rare. CEOs don't never want to give up their positions.
You don't want to give that power up. Why would you give that power up?
So
I get it.
Either he was completely.
I don't believe that though. I mean, so like people who love their craft, who love making games, sometimes they would just want to go back to the ground floor. I mean, like I said, look at Adam Boyce. Guy was in a big exec position for Sony, and he said, "Hey, I want to make games again."
Yeah, some people don't like the managerial aspect. I understand it at the same time, but at the same time, also part of me is like, well, then why did you take the position initially? I don't know. It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I just think that either it was something where they made him step down, or he stepped down because he wanted to make games again, and he didn't want to be in that position. It's just one of those two things. And now with him back in a position to build games, he's probably. And be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if a game like Hellblade made him want to make another game like Ninja Gaiden. You know what I'm saying? Or a game like that, because he worked with Team Ninja for so long. So I think that I really think that he would love to be in that position again to probably make some games. Now, hopefully Microsoft is on that list, because as much as Xbox fans swear to to the high heavens that they don't want any Japanese games on there, no one would complain about a new Ninja Gaiden or a new game that's similar to Ninja Gaiden. So let's not jump the gun there, Xbox fans. If Itagaki, I can't pronounce his name, if he was able to get back in the studio to make a game similar to the game that Xbox fans grew up on and love, you guys would be all over it. So that's one thing to look out for. Do you think there will be a Sunset Overdrive 2?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm going to say no. I don't like the rhetoric that's coming out of Insomniac initially. It almost seemed like they were blaming. Think so?
There will be a Sunset Overdrive 2, regardless of if Microsoft wants it or not.
Oh no! That's the correct answer. I would say in the sense that for the Microsoft fans who are expecting another one in the same vein as it being exclusive, probably not. But the vibe I'm getting from them was kind of like, it's gonna come. It's just whether or not if Microsoft's behind it or not. But it still may come. So I hear what you're going with that, Anchor.
Whether or not it's called Sunset Overdrive 2 or Maximum Sunrise or whatever, it doesn't matter. That game there will be a sequel.
Sunrise.
Maximum
Sunrise. Enrique, shout out to Enrique. What up, Enrique? Enrique says, do you think Microsoft will bite back next year? And what is your favorite Ubisoft Naruto game between Rise of the Ninja and The Broken Bond? I think Microsoft is already fighting back. They're fighting back. You know who they're fighting back through? Digital Foundry. Digital Foundry has become Microsoft's new Mickey. They're in their corner. They are showing everything they can about the Xbox One X, and every time they praise it, it just legitimizes the Xbox One X even more and more. Fans can't say nothing. It's got to the point that the PC gamers are so bitter they have no choice but to team up with the PlayStation fans just to attack the Xbox fans. It's out of control at this point.
It's been like that all generation, man. The PlayStation guys and PC guys been together the whole time.
PC guys have put all peasants in the same box until the Xbox One came out, and they realized that this peasant was stepping up, and it's on a whole nother level than that other peasant. So now they have to team with the lower peasants to attack the upper peasant, and that's exactly what's happening. Yeah, exactly. So it's pretty crazy.
Genius move by Microsoft to team with Digital Foundry. I think that was genius. People don't give that enough credit, because in my opinion, Digital Foundry is the voice of this generation. Because once we had Resolution Gate and all that other stuff, that's where people do the tail of the tape. You wait for Richard Ledbetter to get on. Talk those stats and those numbers. So I think that's great. They letting them do it for them.
They're letting them do it for them. They're letting them do all the talking. And it's like recently with that whole new tech about installs, I had somebody say that PC has been doing it for the longest time. That's fine. It's never been done on consoles. Talk to me when you can name a console that's been able to allow us to download just the single player game or just the multiplayer game and remove the single player game. I said this yesterday. Imagine Halo. Imagine Halo, and you're able to remove Halo 1 and 2 after beating them. That game is like 98 gigs on a hard drive right now.
Huge. I re-downloaded it to prep for X. I'm like, damn, this thing is huge.
It's huge. That's what I'm saying. Take 2 games off of there. I guarantee you about 20 gigs or 40 gigs will come off your hard drive. That's a whole nother game, bro. Like, it's nuts. It don't make no sense. And Microsoft is allowing you to do that. To me, that's huge for the console space. So shout out to Microsoft, man. People stay trying to, in my opinion, bash Microsoft that they don't innovate. All I continue to see them do is innovate, and people copy.
Yeah,
that's what I see. I mean, everybody copies over everybody. I don't want to.
But you know who's fighting back more than them? The Xbox Live update team.
Who?
Holy crap! They are bringing the fire. Like, what was it when they showed off the new UI for the Xbox One? I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And they listened. Within like 1 or 2 weeks, they completely changed it back to the original, like the vision of what it could have been. And it's totally awesome now. I actually got a really nice wallpaper on there now. I took a little picture. I'll show you guys later. But it really is dope. I love the concepts. And they have been working overtime. Like, they need to put this team on game development. Because like this is the team that's working.
I hear you.
Facts.
I hear you. Yeah. All right, so we're going to finish up with this final question from Victor Alistine. Victor says, with a game like Cuphead coming out, would you like to see more cartoonish adventure games?
Yes.
You say yes?
Yes. Seriously, look at my avatar right now. Like I am all down for these stylized kind of cartoon stuff, like because it's paying homage to the Fleischer era of cartoons. I love that stuff. It's great, and if they can make games that like do this kind of thing, I'm down for it. Yeah, maybe experiment a little more than a side scroller, but hey, I'm down for a cartoon. Those kinds of games last longer. Don't like relax on. Oh, look at how good our graphics are. Like, okay, here's an example. Prototype versus Borderlands. When did Borderlands come out again? What was that? 2007? I forgot.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. And Prototype came out like what? 2005, 2006. Prototype went for a stick style, and it looks horrible. It is god awful, but Borderlands is still looks decent because they went with that stylized approach, and a stylized approach can make your game last longer in terms of being relevant. And it's one of those things where I'm down if you want to do this kind of thing. Like Cuphead will last for all time because it's not trying to be anything else. It's not trying to be the most realistic or anything like that. It's trying to do its own style and make you enjoy it. And that for that reason alone, it will last 20 years from now and doesn't need an update.
Yeah, let's see where you're going with it. I mean, it's pretty cool. Like I said, variety is the spice. So at the end of the day, even certain things that I might not enjoy, but not Cuphead is definitely one of them. I enjoy, but just in general, like you need that variety of titles to get people interested, all walks interested.
Crackdown says hi. People were ripping Crackdown for the way it looked with its stylized graphics. I'm not trying to sit here, and don't get me wrong, I'm all for Ori and the Blind Forest. I'm all for Cuphead. I get that. As long as that game is $20, I'm with it. But I didn't spend $500 to watch cartoons. I need to see what this thing can do. I need Anthem, baby. I need that Metro Exodus, baby. I need graphics out the wazoo. I want to see ants crawling out of trees. I need details. I want to see something that looks so amazing that when I turn it on, it looks so realistic. My jaw drops. I can't tell if I'm actually switching between the television or the actual game itself. And in certain instances, you'll get that with games like Tomb Raider, or sometimes with Gears, or mostly with the Forza Horizon series, because sometimes Forza Horizon can look ultra realistic, which is just absolutely amazing to me in certain instances. So I really am for more of the big budget studio graphical powerhouses. Now, graphics don't make a game. Don't get me wrong. In my opinion, I judge a game on gameplay and story. That's how I judge my game. Those are two big factors for me when it comes to games. Graphics and sound fall into the same, because a lot of people don't give sound that it deserves. Yes. And people don't understand. People don't even. Destiny's music is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. It is so close to being on par with some of Halo's music. It is really, really good. It's really, I'm really impressed with the music, and the sounds and the sound effects. It's just nuts. So sound sets the atmosphere. It really does. It gives you the feeling and the emotion how you're supposed to feel at that particular time. But the graphics, the visuals is what makes you be drawn in. It draws you into the game, what you're seeing, what you're watching, the details. It really impresses you when you see it visually. And for me, that's really important. It's very important. So I really want these big games to come out on the Xbox. I want Xbox to get back to what they were doing with the OG Xbox and what they were doing early on with the Xbox 360. That's when they were at their best. That's where I fell in love with them, and I want them to get back to that, and hopefully they will next year, starting in 2018. So again, man, I want to thank everybody for stopping out. I want to thank you guys for the support. Make sure you give the show a thumbs up. And if you need to catch any of the shows on Tick Network, you can catch it on iTunes, Google Play, or any Cast app, including your Xbox with the Cast app in the Xbox store. You can check out the Iron Lord podcast, the Multiverse podcast, 2XP podcast, and Trophy Life on Tick Network and Tick Podcast, Super Pod Shots. And of course, Top Shelf on the Tick Podcast RSS feed on any Cast app. And games. Really want to thank everybody for stopping out once again. We will see you tomorrow. Don't forget to tune into the ILP podcast at 11 a.m. I'm your host, KLRSKLL, the last on the planet Xbox, with Anchorman V and Lord Cognito, and we're off this planet. Peace.